100 years ago, a horse named Sir Barton won the Triple Crown, which, as we talked about earlier, was not known as the Triple Crown at that time of his pioneering achievement. Jennifer Kelly has written a book about it called Sir Barton and the Making of the Triple Crown, and Jennifer joins us now from the beautiful state of Alabama. Jennifer, welcome into the Horse Racing Show.
Well, thank you guys so much. I'm excited to be here.
So how did you decide that this was the time for the book? I know it's the 100th anniversary, which seems like an obvious, but how does a person in Alabama, not a state known for racing, decide to write a book about the first Triple Crown winner?
Well, I've been a horse racing fan since I was a kid. And in the late 80s, when I got sucked into the sport, living in Alabama, your only exposure really to horse racing on television is through the Triple Crown. So it was a natural progression, as a new fan to get really excited every year that the Triple Crown series came around, and watching horses like Sunday Silence, it go through the process and watching the preps. And so as an adult, I've built my library around finding more and more books on, famous horses in the sport, especially Triple Crown winners. And every time I would go looking for a book on the Triple Crown, I would notice that the same narrative popped up continuously about Sir Barton. And I have an academic background. I've studied writing and I've studied history for a long time. And whenever you see the same story crop up over and over again about a certain figure, you kind of wonder, well, what else is there to the story? So given that the 100th anniversary was coming up, and then given that I suspected that no one else had written a book about him, I looked around and tried to find some way of satisfying my curiosity about the horse, and discovered that there really wasn't a lot of material out there beyond that, chapter in the inevitable book on the Triple Crown. So I took it upon myself, with all the hubris of a writer, to assume that I could be the one to do it.
Now, how's the response been? First off, I would imagine even horse racing fans probably had to scratch their head a little bit. I mean, 100 years ago, a long time, and I'm not sure, how popular, how famous Sir Barton is, even to some of the guys hanging out on the rail, trying to wheel trying to get a pick four. I'm not sure how popular he was with them. So how's the book been received, Jennifer?
Well, the book's has an amazing reception. I've been very lucky that I've been able to get the attention of people, across the country via social media. And then, when I go and do appearances, I just got back from Lexington this weekend and had 3 appearances, and everyone that I've spoken to has, received it with a lot of enthusiasm and a lot of just interest. And I know, like me personally, I had Steve Bick on my side fairly early on. When I was doing an appearance at Churchill Downs, Mike Smith came up to me and said hi, and asked for a book to be signed. Kate and Bradar. I've had a lot of people, surprisingly, a lot of people be really interested in the story and be familiar with him, and his name, if not necessarily all the minutia of the story itself. And then from the average fan, I've noticed that quite a bit as well, because, most people get into the sport, via something like the Derby, or they're brought to the track as a child with, a parent or some other family member. And so they're interested in the history of the sport because they appreciate all of the traditions that bring us to this, Derby Day and all the fun of being at Churchill Downs, or going to Pimlico and appreciating that, Man o' War and Sir Barton and Sue Biscuit and all these famous horses that run there. And same with Belmont. I mean, I know a lot of fans who, love current horses and fall in love over and over again with, figures like American Pharoah and Justify, but they are also appreciative of the horses that came before them to create this atmosphere where we are privileged enough to fall in love with these champions.
Talking with Jennifer Kelly, she's the author of Sir Barton and the Making of the Triple Crown. Now, without giving much away, because you want people to buy your book naturally, and it's available on Amazon and other outlets right now, what was the most intriguing thing that you found out during your research of Sir Barton?
All right. The most intriguing thing. Let's see. That's a really good question, and it's one that I find from day to day. I have a different thing that crops to mind. For me, I think the very first one was doing research on his run up to the Derby after having, only started 6 times at 2 and having not been able to break his maiden, because I don't think from lack of skill or talent so much as just lack of opportunity. And then discovering that for years and years, I believed that he had been brought to Louisville solely to be a pacemaker for his stablemate, Billy Kelly. And then to find out, continuously through the coverage in newspapers leading up to Derby 1919, that instead it was Sir Barton that they had assumed over and over again was the best chance for them to win the Derby. So that's a complete 180 from what you read in, any book on the Triple Crown, mm-hmm. or any book that discusses Sir Barton at length. They just always he was brought into Louisville to be a pacemaker, when in reality most sports writers at the time, and even a couple of other figures like Charles Granger, who was president of Churchill Downs in this era, saw Sir Barton as really the better choice of the horses that his owner had brought to Louisville for the Derby. So that really, really surprised me. And it makes me excited every time I get to talk about the horse, in different venues, to show people that in newspapers from that day.
Well, that's wonderful, and congratulations on the book, and my compliments on the extensive research you had to do going back 100 years. And Sir Barton was the one that set it up for everybody, the first Triple Crown winner. Jennifer Kelly has written the book, Sir Barton and the Making of the Triple Crown. You can check it out online. And Jennifer, I really appreciate your time and continued success with the book.
Thank you guys so much, and thanks for the opportunity to hang out with you guys today, Kenny. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you so much, Jennifer. It's a great book. I hope you have a chance to take a look at it and learn more about the history of the sport. And we'll wrap it up when we come back here on the Horse Racing Show.